All right, we go back now to an earlier story, which is Eskom, which has said that stage 2 load shedding will continue today as the organisation battles with low coal reserves and breakdowns at various power stations across the country. We're now joined in studio by energy expert Ted Blom. Thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the programme.
Good evening.
So this is a situation that you saw coming as far back as, what, 2007?
Absolutely. That's when I was commissioned by Eskom, in fact, to do a coal roadmap to 2030, and I forecast then that about come 2015, we'd be facing a coal cliff, and that was confirmed by the Fossil Fuel Foundation a year later in their reports, and on the basis of what I found, I recommended Eskom invest in 20 new coal mines, not the large ones because those have depleted, but new medium-sized ones. Brian Dames went public and took the report and said he's going to open up 40 new coal mines. And that's also public knowledge, you can Google that. And to date, Eskom has opened 0 new coal mines. So that's why we've got a coal problem.
So 2007 is 11 years ago. So had we taken steps 11 years ago, we would have commissioned quite a number of those and we wouldn't be in this situation now.
Absolutely. So it takes 5 years to commission a new coal mine. And because of 20, this country can't do 20 new mines in one go. So you'd have to stagger them over a period of time, and we would have ameliorated the problem.
Why wasn't it done?
Well, I think you need to ask Brian Dames that, and the Eskom board at the time, because they're fully aware of it. As I said, you can go and Google this. It's not a secret.
But there were people subsequent to Brian Dames, they would have been aware of this report and this projection, and they would have done the maths themselves as well and come to the same conclusion.
Well, that's the problem with Eskom. The handover from management succession planning is very disparate. I mean, you had, after Brian Dames, you had Mr. Matona, who didn't know much about Eskom. Then you had Brian Dames, who knew nothing about Eskom but knew a lot about crime and corruption. And then after him, you've had another board which can't even spell electricity. Out of that new board, one person's got industry experience, the rest have 0 Eskom or industry experience. So they've been sitting and learning for 12 months or 11 months at our expense. They've done nothing in terms of sorting out the coal problem. They should have read the reports if they had a proper succession planning. Nothing's been done, and that's why we the guinea pigs, we're sitting here and we're feeling the heat.
All right, so where are we now? They're saying that load shedding will carry on into the new year. How long do you think this round of load shedding might continue? Okay,
so given that we're now in crisis stage, from the day when they wake up and decide to open up a new coal mine, you're talking about 5 years. Because that's the amount of time it takes to do the planning, the drilling, the equipment, and the training of new staff. So I don't foresee this problem going away within 5 years, unless if they declare a coal emergency and immediately stop the exports of coal. But that will damage the balance of payments second to none. The normal problem solving will take 5 years for the first coal mine, and then the staggered situation thereafter until they recover 100 million tons a year. That's what they need to recover.
So let me get this right. So you're saying if we actually start today, we'll only see the end of load shedding 5 years from now?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's scary. So you've also made some pretty serious allegations about what you perceive as rigging and purposeful destruction of Eskom by...
Self-inflicted.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Okay, so the coal crisis of 2008, I saw the problem 4 days before it happened. I warned management. I was told to shut up and go away. And 4 days later, the coal stockpiles were down to low minimum levels, and we had the national blackouts, you'll recall, which took about 6 months to recover. The problem there wasn't shortage of coal. The problem there was that the people who were corrupting Eskom wanted the emergency mandate extended. And that was a fight between Mr. Bongani Nkubaba, the finance director, to whom I reported at the time, and the rest of management. Mr. Nkubaba lost that fight and he subsequently left Eskom. And that's why they then retained the emergency procedures, and they then again implemented them in 2014, again to corrupt and to create space for the Guptas, and we're in a similar situation now. I haven't identified the corruptors at this round.
Are you saying that even now there are corrupt elements within Eskom that are purposefully inflating prices and getting in the way of a turnaround?
Absolutely. In the last 3 weeks, I've had additional instances of corruption. Certain of those I've made available to management. It seems to me that Eskom management is either too busy sorting out the crisis or they're not interested in sorting out the corruption. But my contention is Eskom remains corrupted and captured until the day that I find that there's a will to sort out the corruption, and then I might change my mind and say that Eskom is on a path of being uncaptured. But that will also take a long time. It's not going to happen overnight.
So if I sent you to Minister Radebe's office today, what would you tell him that he must do?
Well, Minister Radebe has got a conflict of interest because he signed the IPPs. The IPPs are saving our bacon at the moment because Eskom, as I said, there's an unavailability of around about 50% of the coal plant in Mpumalanga. But the IPPs, by the same token, are taking away Eskom sales. This year they'll take away about 34 billion rand of Eskom sales, which are needed to service Eskom's debt. Next year, they're going to take away 50 billion rand of Eskom sales, which is needed to service Eskom's debt. So that's why the Eskom board has realized that Eskom's in a death spiral. It's not recovering enough cash from operations to pay its debt. And it's been exacerbated by the IPPs on top of this. And that's partly the reason why Eskom can't do proper maintenance. Because they're in a spiral. They're not getting enough cash in. They're burning poor coal because they're not getting enough cash to buy the right coal. And then they haven't got the money to do the maintenance afterwards. So they're really on their way down.
You're also doubting the size of their debtors book.
Absolutely. I've gone public with that as well. I've done a quick and dirty analysis about 2 months ago, and I found that a lot of the so-called Eskom debt is either fictitious or overstated by the extent of about 60%. And I raised that issue with the Department of Public Enterprises, and they were quite astounded by my findings and indicated that then if that was indeed the case, they would try and verify that. If that was indeed the case, the only solution to the standoff between the municipalities, who are all now insolvent because of the Eskom debt, and Eskom is a political decision. Because if they write off the Eskom debt, as they should, then the municipalities will be saved and Eskom will be sunk, and vice versa.
So what went wrong with the Eskom model? I think you also mentioned that 2001, there was a shift from the non-profit model to the profit model.
And that's what I mentioned in Parliament a year and a bit ago, is that in 2001 they had the Eskom Commercialisation Act, and that then gave them the leeway to pursue profits and not just recover, which I think is a dastardly act to do in South Africa, because this economy has been built for 100 years and longer on the cheapest electricity in the world, the most reliable electricity in the world. And with the commercialization of Eskom's now competing with you and me, the consumer, for money. They want profits, we want low costs. The more that they win the fight, the more they put profits in their pockets, the higher our electricity price. The higher the electricity price, the more mines and smelters close down, and the higher the unemployment. If Eskom reduced the cost of electricity today to what I call the pre-corruption price of 40 cents a kilowatt hour, which, by the way, the Eskom board agrees with me. They agree with me that that is the pre-corruption price. If we get that as a target, we will create 3 million new jobs within 18 months. Guaranteed.
All right, so it seems like we've got a mountain to climb, but there's things that need to be done immediately.
Absolutely.
What are those immediate things that need to be done?
Well, I think immediately to sort out this load shedding and unavailability of coal and using of poor coal, Eskom needs to enter into a discussion with the exporters and declare a semi-emergency and just get hold of some better coal to stop the damage to the furnaces. Then they need to get down to do proper maintenance, and then they need to sort out the bloated headcount of over 35,000 people. I won't call them workers, but it would be an insult to workers. These people haven't got jobs. They're sitting there. They're earning on average of 800,000 rand or more a year. And in fact, you can't even do a lifestyle audit on them because they're all millionaires anyway. And you can only do a lifestyle audit on people that are poor, hard-working. Yeah. You can't do a lifestyle audit on multimillionaires.
All right, so in the medium term, we've got this IRP that's about to be released after comment. What should be in that mix going forward, given the challenges and the constraints we have? You know, we talk about power pools and an energy mix.
Exports.
Yeah, nuclear seems to have been discarded, but is there a case for it now?
Absolutely. A non-Zuma, in other words, a non-corrupted nuclear, should certainly be the core, the bedrock of the new IRP, and it's been discarded altogether for unreliable IPPs. Now I ask you with tears in my eyes, if I'm sitting here with wind and sun, which is only available between 15 and 30% of the time, how in God's name can I send workers underground if I don't know that I can bring them out after the shift has ended, whether there's power or not available? I mean, it just doesn't make sense for our economy, which is a heavy industry economy, to make use of unreliable power. We need solid nuclear, we need solid coal, and we need clean coal, not Eskom's coal, because Eskom is again bastardizing coal industry with all its pollution and reckless managing of its power stations. But it's time for Eskom to up the game. But before we can do that, we need the management team to be competent. We need the board to be competent. So until that's sorted out, and I'm really disappointed in government in where they've let us down as the economy, and they're using us as guinea pigs for people who want to be energy experts. And really, that's not acceptable for South Africa.
All right, Ted Blom, we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks very much indeed for your insights. Thank you so much for coming through.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, so that was Ted Blom, who's an energy expert with the Energy Experts Coalition, giving us his insights, and it seems a lot needs to be done, and done very quickly, if we're going to get out of this situation. All right, we take a quick